I have been in your century for 6 weeks now. I have made peace with many things. The horseless carriages terrifying, but I understand the principle. The cold box that preserves food remarkable, I use it daily. The cheese in a can, I do not use it daily. I do not use it at all. We do not speak of the cheese. But there is one object in your time that I cannot leave alone. One object that I pick up and put down and pick up again, like a man trying to solve a puzzle he was not given the instructions for. A small rectangle. Glass on one side. Smooth on the back. Fits in your pocket. You all have one. You look at it approximately every 45 seconds. I have timed this, and I have questions. I first encountered this device on my 3rd day here. A young woman was walking toward me on the street, head down, eyes fixed on the rectangle, completely unaware of her surroundings. She walked directly into a lamppost. She did not look up from the rectangle. She simply bounced off the lamppost, adjusted her direction, and continued walking. Eyes still down. I stood and watched her disappear around the corner. Then I looked at the lamppost. Then I looked at where she had gone. I needed a moment. I acquired one of these devices shortly after. The process of acquiring it was its own ordeal. A large, bright room full of identical rectangles in different sizes. A young man in a blue shirt who spoke to me for 40 minutes using words I did not recognize. And a number at the end that I can only describe as an act of financial violence. I paid it because I needed to understand. I took the device home. I sat with it. I turned it on. And what I found inside this rectangle, this object the size of my hand, thin as a playing card, was everything. Every book ever written. Every piece of music ever composed. Every painting. Every map. Every scientific discovery in recorded human history. The complete accumulated knowledge of your entire civilization. In my pocket. I sat with that for a long time. I genuinely wept. Not from sadness. From the magnitude of what I was holding. In my time, access to knowledge meant years of study, letters of introduction, the goodwill of a university, and considerable personal wealth. Here it was, in a rectangle, that a 12-year-old was using to watch a cat knock something off a table. Let me tell you about the cats. I do not understand the cats. Not the animals themselves. I am familiar with cats. We had several at the estate. They were useful for managing rodents and being aloof at dinner parties. What I do not understand is the documentation. You film your cats constantly. Every movement, every sound, every inexplicable decision a cat makes throughout the day. And then you share these films with everyone, and everyone watches them. Millions of people, choosing from the infinite library of human knowledge available in their pocket, to watch a cat miss a jump. I watched one of these films, then I watched another. Then somehow 40 minutes had passed, and I was watching a cat that was afraid of cucumbers, and I had completely lost track of what I had originally intended to do. The cats are a trap, a very effective, very soft, very purring trap. And I walked directly into it. But the cats are not the strangest part. The strangest part is what else you use this device for. I have been conducting research. In my time, research meant libraries, correspondence, and years of patience. Here, I simply asked the rectangle a question. Any question? I asked it the distance from London to Constantinople. It told me instantly. I asked it the molecular composition of water. It told me instantly. I asked it why my left knee makes a sound when I descend stairs. It gave me 17 possible explanations, 4 recommended specialists, and a small advertisement for knee braces. I did not ask for the advertisement. It appeared anyway. I have questions about the advertisements. We will return to those. Then I discovered the voices. You can speak to this rectangle, and it will speak back. I tested this immediately. I said, "What is the weather today?" It told me. I said, "What year was the Magna Carta signed?" It told me. I said, Why do people in this century voluntarily wake up at 5 in the morning to run to a place and then run back? It said, "Here are some articles about the mental health benefits of running." It did not understand the question, but I appreciated the effort. Then I found the place where everyone argues. I am told it has several names. I will call it the Forum. The Forum is a place inside the rectangle where people gather to share opinions. In my time, opinions were shared carefully. At dinner tables, in drawing rooms, in letters that took 3 weeks to arrive and were therefore written with considerable thought. Here, opinions are shared instantly, at all hours, by everyone, about everything. I read a disagreement that had been ongoing for 4 days between two individuals who had never met, would never meet, and were arguing about whether a particular biscuit was better dunked or not dunked in tea. 4 days, thousands of words, real human emotion, about a biscuit. I sat with this for a long time as well. Then I found the short films, not the cat films, different films, films that last between 15 and 60 seconds, films of people doing dances I do not recognize, films of people cooking meals in 45 seconds, films of people falling off things, films of people crying and then explaining why they are crying directly into the rectangle while it films them. You have invented a format where a person stands alone in a room, speaks directly to a glass rectangle about their most private feelings, and then distributes this to 40 million strangers. In my time, this would have been considered a breakdown. Here it is called content. I made one. I stood in my room. I looked at the rectangle. I spoke to it about my confusion regarding your civilization. 3 people watched it. One of them told me my wig was strange. I thanked them for their feedback. Then I discovered something that I can only describe as both the greatest achievement and the greatest failure of your civilization simultaneously. Maps. In my time, maps were extraordinary objects. Hand-drawn, painstakingly accurate, carried by explorers and generals and men of great consequence. Getting lost was a genuine danger. Navigation was a skill, a real, valuable, learnable skill. Here, you hold up the rectangle. It shows you exactly where you are. It shows you exactly where you need to go. It speaks to you. Turn left. Turn right. In 300 meters, turn left. A voice, patient, calm, infinitely knowledgeable, guiding you through the world as if you were a child who cannot be trusted to find the bakery unassisted. And here is what concerns me. You follow it, completely, without question. I watched a man follow the rectangle's instructions directly into a car park when he was clearly trying to reach a restaurant. He looked at the rectangle. He looked at the car park. He looked at the rectangle again. He went into the car park. The rectangle had spoken. But here is where I must be honest with you. Because I have spent 6 weeks judging this device, cataloguing its absurdities, shaking my head at the cats and the biscuit arguments and the man in the car park. And last Tuesday, I was sitting in my chair at 2 in the morning, unable to sleep, alone in a century that is not mine. And I picked up the rectangle and I found music. Not just any music. Every piece of music that has ever been written, including music from my time. Music I had not heard in 200 years. Music that was playing at a ball I attended when I was 23 years old. And I sat in my chair in the dark, in your century, listening to music from mine, and it was the least alone I had felt since I arrived. So I will say this about your rectangle. It contains the worst of you. The arguments about biscuits, the advertisements that appear without invitation, the endless short films of people performing emotions for strangers, the man in the car park, and it contains the best of you. Every song ever written, every book ever thought, every piece of accumulated human wisdom available instantly to anyone, anywhere, regardless of birth or wealth or status. In my time, knowledge was a privilege. Here it is a rectangle that most of you use to watch cats, and I understand that now. I genuinely do. Because sometimes, after a long day of being confused by your world, I watch the cats too. They are very funny. I do not know why they are afraid of cucumbers. Nobody does. And somehow, that is enough. So no, I do not think your rectangle is a waste. I think it is the most extraordinary object ever created by human hands. I think you simply have not decided what to do with it yet. You are still standing at the beginning of something enormous, distracted, briefly, by cats, which is, now that I think about it, exactly what cats have always wanted. They were doing this long before the rectangle. We just gave them a bigger audience. I have subscribed to 7 cat accounts. I am not proud of this. Good evening.